I've been a national park ranger about 7 years now, and I've seen my fair share in strange occurrences. But nothing could have prepared me for what I experienced while working at the remote and isolated Silverwood National Park. It was a typical day on the job, walking along the trails and ensuring the safety of hikers and campers. The sun was shining and the birds were chirping, making the park feel like a serene oasis in the middle of a dense forest. As I made my way deeper into the park, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. The usually bustling park was eerily quiet, and I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. Brushing off my unease, I continued on my route until I stumbled upon a deserted campsite. The fire was still smoldering and tents were abandoned, as if the campers had suddenly disappeared without a trace. I radioed in to report the strange discovery, but before I could get a response, I heard a blood-curdling scream coming from the nearby creek. Without hesitation, I rushed towards the sound. As I approached the creek, I saw a figure standing in the bank, their back facing me. I called out, but there was no response. As I got closer, I realized it was a woman, her long black hair covering her face. I cautiously approached her, but before I could get close enough, she turned towards me and I saw her face. Her skin was a pale gray, her eyes were completely black, and her mouth was stretched into an eerie grin. I stumbled backwards, my heart racing in fear. That's when I noticed that behind her, the still waters of the creek were turning red. I turned and ran back to my vehicle, not stopping until I was miles away. My mind raced with fear and confusion, trying to comprehend what I had just witnessed. Once I was back at the ranger station, I immediately reported the incident to my supervisor and park officials. They searched the creek, but found nothing. No evidence of the woman or the red water. They claimed that it must have been a figment of my imagination, but I knew what I saw was real. From that day on, I made sure to avoid that particular area of the park and never spoke the encounter again. Months went by, and everything seemed to return to normal. But then, strange reports started coming in from other rangers and visitors. Some claimed to have seen a ghastly woman walking the trails at night, while others heard her eerie screams in the dead of night. But the incidents were not limited to just sightings and sounds. Some hikers went missing, the campsites left in disarray, and a few were found in unexplainable injuries. As the rumors and incidents continued to grow, I couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt waiting on me. I was the first one to encounter the woman, and if I had done something differently, maybe these unfortunate events could have been prevented. It was then I remembered a strange legend that the locals used to tell about Silverwood National Park. According to legend, a woman had gone missing in the park decades ago, and her body was never found. It was said that she was missing for her lost lover and had died in the process. Her restless spirit now haunted the park, seeking revenge on anyone who disturbed her eternal search. Initially, I dismissed the legend as just a spooky tale told to scare visitors. But now, I couldn't ignore the similarities between the legend and the recent incidents. I knew I had to do something to put an end to this before anyone else got hurt. Inspired the legend, I decided to dig deeper into the history of the park. I spent countless hours researching and talking to the locals, trying to find any information about the missing woman and her lover. Finally, I came across an old newspaper article from the 1950s that mentioned a couple who had gone missing in the park. The article had a photo of a couple, and to my horror, the woman in the photo was the same woman I had encountered at the creek. Determined to put an end to her restless spirit, I gathered a team of rangers and set out into the park, armed with the knowledge and tools we needed to lay her spirit to rest. As we trekked through the dense forest, we could feel a sense of unease settle over us. The air felt heavy and the birds had stopped chirping, making the forest eerily quiet. We finally reached the creek where I had encountered the woman. As we searched the area, we found a small clearing with an old, dilapidated cabin hidden behind overgrown trees and bushes. The cabin seemed to emit a strange energy, a feeling of dread and despair. Without wasting any time, we cautiously made our way inside the cabin. As we searched every nook and cranny, we found a photo of the missing couple in the closet. I couldn't believe it. This was the very same cabin where the couple had disappeared from all those years ago. And then, I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the photo, the woman had a striking resemblance to the ghastly woman, only her face was filled with happiness instead of the twisted grin I had seen. It became clear that the missing woman's spirit was trapped in this cabin, reliving the pain and suffering of her final moments. We knew what we had to do. We performed a ritual to release her spirit and finally lay her to rest. As we burned the photo in the fireplace, the cabin shook violently, and then everything fell silent. We left the cabin and never looked back. From that day on, the reports of sightings and strange occurrences in Silverwood National Park stopped. The park resumed its serene and peaceful atmosphere, and hikers and campers could once again explore without fear. But for me, the horror of the day still lingers in my mind.